Hey, Lawrence, welcome to the WP Minute.
Thank you, Matt. How are you?
Doing well. I saw you posting on Blue Sky about your content creation role at Freemius, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Well,
He's doing content. I love content. We're doing YouTube. We're doing tutorials, talking about the wonderful world of creating content in WordPress.
mhm.
Um, Give us the backdrop. What do you do at Freemius?
At Freemius, I joined Freemius as a WordPress developer, mainly working with the websites and so on. But it's a dynamic place, and you find yourself like doing different kinds of things. So you'll find yourself trying out the support, find yourself, besides doing the development, like working with the websites, then you're dealing like with the APIs and so on. So it's a very neat place if you want to grow. And that's how I found myself jumping into like the content team, even though initially I started out as a WordPress developer. Yeah.
And you have your own YouTube channel as well, right? It's youtube.com/at TechiePress, TechiePress.
Yeah.
7,500 subscribers, 200 something videos. I mean,
Mhm.
you're no slouch on YouTube either. Do you still do that? And did Vova look at you and go, "Oh, wait, you do content too? Yeah, how about some of that over here?"
Yeah. So I don't know whether I should be saying this, but during one of
You
our
can say it. You won't get in trouble from Vova. I know him very well, and if he
yeah,
says anything to
yeah,
you, just direct him to
yeah.
me.
So one of the things that made my CV stand out when I was applying at Freemius was the YouTube channel, because they were able to go and see what I can do, and also just generally see who like the type of person I was, understanding what I'm doing, or like generally it was my portfolio, and that excited them. And right now, it's been 2 years being at Freemius, so now is the time when I'm plugging into the content team to help out. Yep. But unfortunately,
What made you
oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what made you start your own personal YouTube channel? Like, why did you start doing content?
I love sharing knowledge, but I realized that many of the WordPress content creators, in terms of like development, most of them would come in and after some time sort of die out. So as a new developer, someone who wanted to learn, I found that there was a big space. So I wanted to be able to just fill in there, and then also make content that would help other people generally. Yeah.
After 200, making 200 something videos,
Mhm.
do you have any sense as to why those WordPress creators burn out or stop creating content?
Yeah, it's the same old story.
Yeah.
You get a good job, and there's a lot of demand. Maybe there are things that change in life, like family coming in, and so it's usually a responsibility that takes you away, and it's a hard balance. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you realize, nah, I don't think it is for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people will publish 100 videos, 200 videos, and they only get a handful of subscribers. Maybe they only have 100, 200 subscribers, and they're pulling their hair out going, my God, how much more do I have to do, to sustain this? Do you remember early on what it was like for you uploading YouTube videos? Were you nervous? Were you looking for an audience? How did you start, growing your audience?
Vividly. I remember the first time I thought about. Initially, my first video was me teaching my son how to play the recorder, like his first notes. And then I realized I don't think this is what I want to do. There's something much better. So I started making YouTube videos. Sometimes I would be seated under a tree, make sure there's not so much noise, hit record, and then upload those. It gave me an adrenaline rush to see that they were always going up. Yeah, eventually settled in and then started making longer form videos, trying to get the quality right. And it's still a process that I'm undergoing, really.
When you started out creating the content, were you also did you have like a full-time job as well where you were developing or you freelancing? How did you balance that time? Because that's the other thing. is it is such a time commitment. Never mind just like the content commitment, but now you have to carve out many hours just to get one video out. How did you balance the time?
So when I started the channel, I was a high school teacher teaching information, communication, and technology (ICT). Um, so in between that and coming home to my family, I had a young family. I just had to strike a balance. The thought was, you know what, if this hits big, maybe YouTube will be able to pay our rent, cater for some bills. So it was from that point of view of you never know what happens. As long as I'm happy, some people are also gaining from this because initially WordPress is what gave me the platform to sort of like start development and even get my job teaching at the high school. So I was thinking, you know what, somebody else could probably run the same race that I am in. So it was a 50-50, do good, and you never know, the universe will repay you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Were you teaching tech and WordPress at high school?
Yeah, so it's a Cambridge education system. So they will look at developing websites, you'll do networking, take the whole shebang of computing. So you get small fragments of everything, basically from grade 4, which is like year 4 of school, till grade 12, which is the next class before you go to college. Yeah.
Sure. How much did WordPress play a role in that education? Like when you shared it with students, how much of the curriculum was about WordPress?
It's the website development area because they want you to know a little bit of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but as a way of showing the real world implementation, I also experimented with the students how to use WordPress. Now, the funny thing is that our local curriculum, which is not Cambridge right now, has a similar module. And their teachers, our local teachers association, is basically like trying to make sure that they all learn WordPress because it's an easier way for developing websites. And it's a big thing. So if you're big on social and you're following the Uganda Teachers Association, you'll see that many of them are trying to get WordPress to the students. There are a couple of guys who are trying to make sure that they have 1,000 WordPress ninjas in the next 5 years. So yeah.
The one of the over things I always talk about, like when I talk about my love for WordPress and like why I've supported it for so long, is that because it is one of those tools, and I want to talk about like what your opinion is on AI. Everybody's sick and tired of me talking about it already, but I want to get your opinion on AI and its impact. But one of the things that's I think is overlooked is WordPress. Like if you want, like, how did I learn how car motors and engines and cars work? Well, I had like a moped with one cylinder and I took it apart and I learned how the cylinders fired with the spark plug and how fuel, poured into the cylinder head and caused the combustion. And I kind of learned all that stuff from a young age. And then same thing when I got into computers, I took apart a computer. I learned how a hard drive and connected up to a motherboard and how CPUs and memory chips connected to the motherboard. WordPress is that tangible thing for me that somebody can pick apart and understand. Here's the front end, here's the back end, here's the management, here's the admin. And because it's this complete thing, I think it's a great place for people to learn, even if they don't use Word. Like even if your students didn't use WordPress after they left your school or your class, they could take that and understand how bits of the web work. Is that a crazy thought, or how do you see it?
I think you're right on the money. There are people who start out with WordPress and eventually head out into the more traditional languages and even go to greater heights of developing desktop systems and all of that. So it's a platform personally that helped me learn more of PHP development. And that's one of the skills that I really, really need when I'm doing my work at Freemius. besides the more web-based languages, I would say. Yeah. So it's a nice platform for you to springboard into your next career. Yeah.
One of your, well, I'm looking at your top videos right now.
Yeah.
Your top videos are custom WooCommerce payment gateways,
Mhm.
setting up visual VS Code, right,
Yeah.
for WordPress development, FTP
Yep.
sync and local development. A lot of it is dev heavy, whereas a
Yep.
lot of us in the YouTube space are doing much more on, here's this great plugin review, here's this new theme that's being launched. I'm guilty of it. That's kind of the content that I do.
Yeah.
But your content is much more methodical. How long did it take for you to make these more technical videos? Like a 30-minute video took you how long? A 15-minute video took you how long?
So relatively a 15 minutes video will take you about 6 hours. So
Wow.
take 1, take 2, take 3, preparations, then go down to editing and cutting out what you don't like, depending on your whole process. But you're looking at about 4 to 6 hours for you to just make a 15 minutes video. For the longer ones, the 30, what I did was record chunks and then keep on coming back and then patching everything together. So the longer 30 minutes videos would take you almost a whole day to just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What tools were you using at the time to make your content workflow easier? 4 or 5 years ago, were you just using like Camtasia or ScreenFlow? Like, what tools helped you get the videos out?
So initially, I wasn't big on the tools to make things easier. So I started out with OBS and then just clipped things with my iMovie. And then eventually I moved on to using ScreenFlow. Managed to make a few savings from the channel, bought ScreenFlow, and I realized it was a better tool for me to record and then edit in one. Yeah, so that's how I transitioned.
Yeah, that stuff. When you find the right tool, I guess it's kind of similar to WordPress. When you can find the right tool to get that job done, ScreenFlow is the one that I still primarily use. Although it's also one of the ones that it's like, when are you going to give us some new updates? like this is still kind of getting a little bit. I feel like that average consumer now with ScreenFlow. I'm like, all these other places I can do text to speech. I can edit the text and that'll edit the video. Better transitions. Like, there's so much other cool stuff happening in other apps, but I still go back to ScreenFlow at the end of the day, and I guess that's where they get me. They're just like, they know I'm going to come back to use it because it is like the best editing experience.
Yeah. So if a tool is not broken, then why try to fix it? They nailed on the basics, and all the newer, cool, shiny tools that are coming up are sort of trying to leverage AI as a topic, but they don't give you that comfort and that confidence that I'm going to record 30 minutes straight and I'm going to have all my stuff like auto saved on my computer and I can be able to recover them and then do like more complex stuff in terms of editing. Yeah, so ScreenFlow is like that nice balance between Adobe Premiere Pro and ScreenFlow, for example. Yeah,
I agree.
I mean Screen Studio.
So you're building out.
Yeah.
I use Screen Studio as
Screen
well.
Studio. Yeah.
Just for short stuff, because like short clips, because if you're editing, this is getting inside baseball right now, but if you're editing long form videos in Screen Studio, it's terrible. Like trying to like find the thing and delete the zoom in and do it. It's like the timeline is just way too basic for long form videos. So years are going by, you're uploading videos to your personal YouTube channel. How did you find Freemius? I mean, we already hinted at what you do at Freemius, but how did you find Vova and team at Freemius? Did they notice your content? Did you use that as leverage to get the job? How did that all come together?
No, so after COVID hit, I left high school teaching and sort of continued with my freelancing. But then I realized I wasn't making ends meet, and Freemius was looking for a WordPress developer. It was right there on their website. So I just submitted my CV and hoped things would go well. And yep, they gave me a call. It was just a
Was it Vova that called you?
yeah. So I got an email from him, and at that time he was still doing the first like meetup face to face, and we got to just
Yep.
talk. And of course they talked to my references, but I think they liked what they had, and then they said, "Hey, would you be happy to do a technical interview?" And that's how things moved until eventually got in. Yep.
Yeah. And so you leveraged all of like your development stuff that you had been learning
And
and teaching other people
yeah.
over on the YouTube channel. What kinds of things were you challenged with when you first started? Freemius, it has a pretty what I'll call a complex product, right? I mean, APIs, license keys. You're distributing software. There's payments. There's all this stuff. There's reporting on that data.
Yeah.
It's not a small plugin, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges did you have when you first started, and how did you overcome them?
So I got in as a WordPress developer, and my first task was to work with the website. And at the moment, at that particular time, Freemius needed to revamp its whole blog. Um, so that's the first thing that I worked with, working with existing data and just writing like a theme over that. Now, that was the time when we were really deciding whether should we go Gutenberg or should we keep things classic editor and so on. So the challenge was in there, like deciding whether you want to like dive into this new tool that's available. How long is it going to take you to come up with a final product at the end of the day? But eventually we came up with a solution, and we have a nice looking blog, I would say, right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How much has yeah, we'll go into the bigger topic, which is like the AI, or the big topic of the end of the year, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
which is like AI and how that's impacting WordPress development.
Yeah.
Has AI started to impact you? Are you leveraging AI for anything? What are your thoughts on AI and developing with WordPress?
Definitely. AI is like a time saver, I would say. I'm using it mainly with tools like Copilot, and then of course ChatGPT, asking a few questions here. So in the olden days, you had to scour the whole WordPress documentation just to find one little function that's going to help you solve something. But
Well, hold on.
yeah.
But I want to. You said olden days, which was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like a Gen Z here. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you needed to like scour the whole documentation, and there's some hidden gems in there. But AI is trained on all this content, so it knows the right tool. You just give it your scenario, and then it will give you the tool. Go read about that documentation and say, this is it. So I don't have to go to Stack Overflow and read like 5 different articles to get that one solution.
yeah.
Just to start off my whole journey with developing a particular feature. Yep.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel that the answers are so direct in terms of like coding, which I guess is a technical thing? It's almost, well, I guess seasoned developers might argue this point, but it's like it's either on or it's off, I guess you could
Okay.
say. Like it's going to work for me or it's not. But I guess there's nuance in that, is like how much code is it giving you, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you feel about that directness versus if you were younger
Yeah.
and you were just starting out, some of that exploration of going to 18 places
Mhm.
actually was kind of useful. It was terrible for time,
Yeah.
but you saw a lot more, and I feel like you maybe stumbled around and found some other things that you didn't know about. And I think that that's what's going away with these direct responses from ChatGPT.
Okay.
Again, no direct question, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I always believe that in the information age that we're in, things are not hidden. Like everything is right in front of you. But unless you tell ChatGPT not to explain the solution and you just say, give me the solution, it's going to pour out all the reasons of why A is so, and why do we go to B, and why do we go to C. So you end up learning the basics of a particular thing. Let's say you're starting to learn HTML. it will explain why you need to have the body, why you need to have the head, and why particular things are in this particular section. So you end up learning the basics, just like in traditional school. So unless you're going advanced user on it, then you're still going to get your traditional teacher in front of your classroom block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, when I first started to see AI come onto the scene,
Okay.
I was like, man, if I was in school, if I was still in high school
Mhm.
and nobody knew about ChatGPT,
Yeah.
I'd be passing every class with, with straight
Yeah.
A's. So as the teacher
Yeah.
inside of you, the one who actually, taught other students,
Yeah.
how does that make you feel? Like AI in the classroom, is it a good thing, a bad thing? How do you see it from that teacher's perspective of like truly understanding a particular topic?
I think AI is brilliant to use in a classroom. I don't think we should shy away from it. Let me give you a scenario. If you had your friend flip their paper and show you the answers, it is sort of a similar situation with using AI. So you're just copying off the answers and then dropping them into your own paper, right? But if I'm using, let's say, ChatGPT and I'm learning about algebra and say, can you give me like 10 different questions for me to practice about algebra? And this is like a sample question I had. It will be able to generate for you 10 different questions that you can put in a question for your students. It can be nice practice for the students, and it can even model different scenarios that would be out of the ordinary for the student. Yeah. So it can be used for both good and bad. But
Yeah.
for most cases, when I've looked at people using AI to cheat their way into stuff, eventually they get caught. So it's up to you to just say, you know what, let me use it for good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have three young boys,
Mhm.
8, 6, and 5.
Yeah.
And my middle son came home with his English homework the other day.
Mhm.
And, it's on paper. It's, they color stuff in. I mean, he's young, right? So it's just like, here's the 12 or 18 words, whatever it was that they're focused on this
Yeah.
week. And he didn't, like getting him to do stuff on paper and like cut the paper out and put the words together. It's a very difficult task. So what I did is I was able to use Bolt, which is a front end sort of, take human words and build an app with it.
Mhm.
And I built him like a little game that he could play with those 12 words.
Yeah.
And it was all like built in React. It had sound effects.
Yeah.
It was fun for a kid to play with.
Mhm.
Those kinds of things
Yeah.
are truly amazing,
Yeah.
right? That's really shifting. And I totally agree with you. It's like leaning into that stuff for AI is just like it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
What we can do with it right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So I think teachers can also just ask AI, I'm teaching this topic, how can I be very creative about it? And it would give you solutions. I think there is much more that we can dig from it and utilize. Yeah.
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 What's the future for WordPress and AI? One of the things that I've been thinking about is, you could look at it and say, well, just build me, hey, Cursor or Copilot, build me a WordPress alternative.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the existence, the sustainability, the future of WordPress in a world where AI seemingly could do what WordPress does?
So it depends from what angle you're coming from. If you are a developer, I don't think AI will ever replace developers. For starters, okay? It can throw out some code, but in most cases, that code needs to be refined. AI is very open-sided, like it's not opinionated in how you do particular things. So as a developer, you'll need to sit in and think through the solution, find the best way to optimize it. So developer side covered. They're never going to go out of fashion or out of need. If you're looking at it as a content creator, still, in order for you to make diverse content, like you're writing a blog, you cannot depend solely on AI to give you that full 300 words that's going to take someone's soul. Like, it doesn't take away the creativity that the human mind has, but it can give you a
Right.
basis. Yeah, exactly. That's for the content creators. But I also see it giving us nice visuals. Like, if in places right now, people are using it to do like text to speech and graphics from that particular text. So there is a nice balance to it that we can have. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Has you don't have to give us all the secret sauce at
Yeah.
Freemius, but is
Yeah.
Freemius doing anything with AI for front end customers? The customers can interact with AI at any level at Freemius.
Yeah. We've trained, we have a bot that we've trained with our documentation so that in any case, if you want to find a particular, like you have a particular question, the AI will provide you with like resources that you can read right in there. And all we need to do is just make our documentation better. And that means people will be served much, much better. Yeah.
What product feature are you working on these days? I mean, I know we just talked about the content stuff, but what are you doing that people will see when they're interacting with Freemius? What can they either praise you on or yell at you about when they interact with Freemius?
I think I have something for you. You have been a big proponent for data liberation. That's something Matt has talked about. And recently, we have been making sure that people can be able to export whatever kind of data they have on Freemius. And we've been progressively doing that for the different sections that we have. So, interesting thing is one of the people that are using Freemius the other day just developed a ChatGPT bot that is using that data, and they're doing crazy stuff with it. So yeah, data liberation is one thing that we've really put a pedal on, besides the bug fixes and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, obviously, whenever it comes to any kind of like e-commerce platform, connecting up, your payment to a system,
Yeah.
and it's like a platform play. There's always that hesitancy from people to be like, oh God, I got to connect this up. It's going to have all my data, and am I going to be able to move this stuff from one platform to the next? And it's great to hear that that you all are investing in that stuff.
Yeah.
Laurence Bahiirwa, thanks for hanging out today. Where else can folks go to say thanks? Where can they go to meet you online? Where do you want them to go?
So I have a very old blog that I last posted on eons ago, which is omchigai.com. But I spend a lot of my free time on Twitter, just reading about what people are developing and occasionally sharing a joke here and there. Yeah. And of course, newly on Blue Sky.
Yeah, fantastic. That's where we connected. I'll have all that stuff in the show notes. And don't forget to check out Laurence's YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TechiePress, and all of his work at Freemius. It's the WP Minute. It's the WPMinute.com/subscribe. It's the #1 way to stay connected. And we'll see you in the next episode.